the war in the Middle East is affecting the price of oil. How will that impact the rest of the world? That's what we're going to talk about in this video. Like, comment, and subscribe. Sign up for my free newsletter and links to the guests in the description below. Hey, Tom, thank you so much for making yourself available.
As always, Rich, how are you? It's a lovely Friday afternoon here in the nondescript part of Tennessee. The sun is shining. The breeze is happening. My dog is gorgeous. My wife is eating lunch over there. And we're going to discuss how the world is going to fall apart because Donald Trump attacked Iran, right?
Yes,
No.
yes, that's right. That's right. The
How
world
about-
is going to fall apart. So look,
How
let
about
me
no?
let me create it from my uneducated. No, I'm a completely unqualified hydrocarbon geopolitical analyst. So I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. Right. So the Qatar's cutting off, says we're going to stop producing LNG. The other countries in the Gulf are running out of storage for oil and gas, so they're going to have to stop because they ain't got anywhere to take it. It can't move around the world. And Putin has said to the European Union, well, maybe we're going to stop supplying gas to you. and then European Union ain't going to be getting gas from Qatar anymore. And then so their only place of getting it is the United States. So prices are going to go up. There's less oil and gas coming into the market, so less supply. Demand ain't disappearing. And then I was thinking I've heard conversations about possible they're going to do rationing and energy lockdowns in Europe, and we have to go everywhere by bicycle. But the thing that I've been thinking about is what it's going to do to the production of food and fertilizer and the price of food and the risk of famine for the poorest in the world. Because I'm going to be okay. I'll be able to afford food, right? Now, you know the kind of work that I do, right? So there's a certain sense of, plus being Pakistani and Punjabi, I'm significant anyway. So there's always doom-laden scenarios that I'm creating, catastrophizing.
So my wife likes to say all the time that, you're borrowing trouble from the future. Like this is that's her way of putting it. You're catastrophizing, you're borrowing trouble, yada, yada, yada. And, look, I'm not going to deny that I haven't turned hypervigilance into a superpower and then turned it into a business model. That's kind of what I've done. That being said, a lot of this is theater. And I don't mean that to be dismissive. It's not dismissive. A lot of this is a much deeper game than I think anybody wants. Everybody wants to have an opinion on this because, of course, we're in the middle of it right now. The Brent crude is $94. I haven't looked at the Brent WTI spread right now. I can maybe do that while we're sitting here chatting so amiably, and I'll open up the app on my phone and we'll figure it out. But what I want to remind everybody about, and we are now 4 or 5 hours past this, which is that the Israelis announced earlier in the day that they will be reopening commercial air traffic on Sunday. Now, what that means is, and oil is trading at 93, and we'll find out what
and what was it at before the war started? 72?
It was in the 70s. It was in the 70s. What's more important is that the Brent WTI spread is okay. That has collapsed to $1. That's interesting. It was $7 or $8 the other day. That's very important. I'll explain now why that's important. So Brent crude's trading about $93, and a couple of days ago, right after everything started, I watched WTI, West Texas Intermediate, not move. It moved up, but it didn't move up as much as Brent was. So Brent was moving hard, which is North Sea oil, which is where it's kind of the international benchmark for oil prices.
Oh, right? the London-owned one.
The London-owned financial contract known as the Brent crude contract that nobody delivers a barrel of oil against, by the way.
Of course.
Of course, right? So everybody prices, at a discount or a premium to Brent, depending on the grade and the day and where they are and yada, 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 and their demand. And then WTI, West Texas Intermediate, is also a light sweet crude contract, but that's coming into Texas. And for about the last 3 or 4 years, the Brent WTI spread has been about $4. Now $3 to $5. But it averages. It's been pretty stable. The WTI is selling at $3 to $5 discount to Brent
Okay,
on a regular
meaning
basis.
Brent crude might be $100 and the WTI price is $96.
Would be $96, right?
Okay.
Today, and then the other day it blew out to $8, $7-8 on the beginnings of the war when we heard that Qatar was going to be cutting off LNG and all of this stuff, and then there was no movement in the WTI price because everybody rightly assumed, oh yeah, Europe's in trouble. That means that the United States is not going to have, concomitant. It's not going to have a concomitant effect on the demand for WTI. That has collapsed. That spread is now $1 or $1.50. That's new. They're both over $90. Okay, let's back up for a second and get away from that, and let's talk about what I just said about Israel.
Well, before you do that,
because this is important. Okay, go ahead.
What's the significance of the collapse in price?
The collapse in the spread means that now the world has woken up to the idea that oil in general is going to be tight, and now people are looking for WTI to fill in for Brent. Remember, but people deliver oil against the WTI contract.
Got it.
So that's a physically settled contract. If you buy oil futures and want to and trade oil prices on the COMEX, and you get made, you have to be able to come up with storage in Cushing, Oklahoma, for the 1,000 barrels of oil you just bought, or whatever the hell it is. Like Brent crude, you're just trading. It might as well be a contract.
You can put it in a folder, but you can't make plastic or fertilizer out of it.
Yeah. All you're doing is you might as well be a contract for difference on a Cypriot Forex site, for Christ's sake. That's all it is. Like, it's not a deliverable contract. Now, it's purely a financial instrument. Now, so that's interesting in and of itself, that the spread has collapsed, which means that now the market is waking up to the idea that there could be a very significant disruption in oil flows around the world, because everybody is being worried about the fact that Lloyd's of London won't insure any shipping.
Mm-hmm.
This is all this is about, because Iran has proven that they cannot stop ships from moving through the Straits of Hormuz. But because Trump and company they've announced that they're willing to insure the loads and escort the ships and everything else, and break that monopoly that Lloyd's and the whole London shipping insurance crowd have. When you realize that right now everybody is believing that embargo, that shipping insurance freeze, just like we saw when they cut the Russians out of it, and the price of Russian Ural grade collapsed because no one was willing to insure because London wasn't willing to insure the ships. So Russia had to offer their oil at a huge discount to offset the risk of somebody blowing up the ship, right? Or what it came down to is they could then use that discount to go buy a higher price insurance contract from somebody else. So as opposed to buying your car insurance from Allstate, you had to go to Bob's auto insurance company, who was going to charge you 4 times the normal price for PIP, as opposed to, what you could buy from full coverage from Allstate from. But to put it in terms that most people understand, car insurance, right? So same kind of thing. So to make up that difference, the Russians had to, cut the price by $20 a barrel to get anybody to take to take their oil. And was that shipping insurance worth $20? No, but that's at the end of the day, it's a buyer's market at that point, and the Russians are they have no selling leverage. Therefore, they got to sell their oil for whatever they can sell it for. Now, in this scenario, it's in many ways, it's kind of the exact opposite. Everybody needs the oil, and now they're looking for supplies. But here's the thing. It's still about the shipping insurance, okay? And if the oil majors like Shell and BP and ExxonMobil and the rest of them, if they all go along with this and refuse to move their ships, maybe because they're all run by globalists, ExxonMobil, Shell, Royal Dutch Shell. You can change your freaking name, but you're still Royal Dutch Shell. Okay, British Petroleum. Okay, all of them. What we should be watching for right now is who's the first one to break with this and get signed up with Trump. Trump has announced he's willing to do this. He hasn't it's an announcement. They still have to write the contracts. They still got to they still got to do all the legal work. They still got to call up the procurement guys at Shell or this or that or anything else and get these things put in place. This shit takes time, right? And maybe it takes a few days. So what we're all doing is being response engines like we're supposed to be, responding in the moment to this big disruption, and everybody's like, oh my God, this means, and everybody lights their hair on fire. Now, since I already burned all my hair off the top of my head ages ago, I don't have to worry about
I may be losing mine listening to you.
No. I'm going to, this is all prefaced by saying it's all going to be fine, folks. That's not what's happening. This is all preface for, this is what the state of things are on Friday, March 6th. By, I don't know, middle of next week, I don't buy it. Now, here's the reason why. I mentioned it at the top of the show. Israel announced the resumption of commercial air traffic to Tel Aviv starting on Sunday. Now, I want everybody to take a step back and remind yourself that when you're moving civilians around the world on an airplane, you don't do that if there's a risk that somebody's going to blow it out of the sky, there's going to be missiles being dropped or bombs or this or anything. No, that's a literal flex by the Israelis telling you this war is over. And all that we're dealing with now is a bunch of butthurt people who've lost, trying to hold on to control of a situation and a secondary situation, because that's important. Now, if the Israelis open up commercial air traffic on Sunday and somehow an Israeli jet gets blown out of the sky and 300 people die, oil's going to go to $125 a barrel, because Israel's bluff about the air traffic being safe will have been called. Or it's going to be Lloyd's of London's bluff that they control the flow of oil around the world. Their bluff's going to be called. At this point today, given everything that's going on, I'm betting on Trump and the Israelis, and I'm not betting on Iran or the IRGC or the faction within the IRGC and the City of London. I'm not. You know why? Because the rest of the world doesn't want this. That's why. The rest of the world is sick and tired of being blackmailed by crazy people and limeys. And they're the crazy people proxies of limeys. People are over it. The Saudis are over it. The Israelis are over it. The Americans are over it. The Italians are over it. The Greeks are over it. The whole Gulf Cooperation Council's over it. Russia's over it. China's over it. Everybody's over it. Okay? They are. Clearly they are. And at some point, everybody plays their cards when they have no other cards to play. Everybody puts all their cards on the table, and eventually those cards get played. That's my read on the situation as it stands right now. Again, subject to change at a moment's notice, subject to change with new rules. But if you want to create hysteria coming into a weekend, and we're doing this literally an hour before markets are going to close, and you don't think that at 5 o'clock this afternoon, Donald Trump doesn't have some rabbit he's going to pull out of his hat and say something random, and change the entire narrative on Friday afternoon at 5 o'clock? It's not like he hasn't done that before. He bombed Iran at 1 o'clock in the morning on a Friday. He bombed Iran, by the way, in the middle of the Iranian daytime. It was 1 a.m. Eastern time. When they started this war, they just went, oh, the Gerald Ford is in theater. They're ready to go. Everything's up and running. Start the bombing campaign. They did it in the middle of the day. They didn't give a shit. That's how much they did not respect Iranian air defense. Because normally you do these operations at night.
Okay.
You don't do them during the day.
Sure. Now, the Israeli airspace, what's happened? How did we get to a point that Israel's opening up its airspace?
It's a good question, though, isn't it? Maybe, just maybe, Rich, it's been what I've been saying for a while now. Iranian propaganda is really good.
Do you know, okay.
I know that the Israelis have been punched in the mouth. I know that there are I know that there have been a lot of Iranian missiles that have hit Israel. I am not discounting that in the least. I can hear the people in the audience crashing out as I say that, as I say it. As I say that, I can hear the people in the audience crashing out. I'm telling you, folks, there's a lot of people out there blowing smoke up your ass that Iran's response has been more than it actually is. Iran's response is a carbon copy of what we saw last year. In fact, it's probably worse.
Okay.
And 90% of what we've heard of what they've been able to pull off has been exaggerated bullshit. That's my take. Do with it what you will.
All right, let me say something about that, because I recorded a video with Harley and Alex. And Harley and Alex are on the other side of the fence to you, I would say, with regards to this issue. And it's really funny because my videos with Harley and Alex really, really did well. Then the war started, and they're expressing concerns, and people are like, "Oh, well, this is not so good on Harley and Alex." It's like, well, my channel is not a warmonger channel. It's definitely not, because I support notaxforwar.com for people in Britain, where you can legally.
No one supports.
Right? Yeah, but
no one supports war.
It's kind of funny, the schism, Tom. That's what I'm saying, that it's shown up, right? And just let people know, my channel is not an echo chamber. I have people that I consider to be really great, smart analysts who are willing to discuss things with others and offer their perspectives so we can learn. And listening to them, I didn't say it in the video, but I started thinking about this, right? That what you're saying is there's propaganda which being rolled out by a proxy of the globalists, the European Union, and it all boils down to the City of London and its proxies and everything, right?
Right.
And people have been taken in by it, is the argument. And then I started thinking that these people.
I'm not saying there hasn't been attacks on by Iran.
Sure, but the idea that Iran's winning and it's going to be the end of Trump, all of that, right? And Israel is controlling Trump and the US and all of that sort of idea, right?
Yeah.
But could it also be the way that I got taken in for the first 6 weeks of lockdown? And I would wear a mask for the first 6 weeks when I went out to the shops. And I was socially distancing until I started thinking, wait a minute, could it also be that I installed solar panels? And I more than once voted green, which I won't do ever again, right? I got taken in by the same people who are master propagandists. Could I have been taken in? And quite frankly, just so people are really clear, I don't know. I listen to you and then I'm swayed by you. I listen to Alex and Harley and I'm swayed by them. I don't know, right? Because I respect all of you and your perspectives. And I just want to keep learning.
Right.
So
what I'll say to that is, again, don't take my word for it. Do your own due diligence. Listen to everyone. I respect Alex and Harley's position on this. I've been, I get updates from Joaquin Flores, who hopefully will join us in the next video. He was supposed to, and what he's been saying about this. And again, there's a lot going on here. Our humanity is being weaponized against us, right?
Okay, say a bit more about that.
What I mean by that is, if you look at, our humanity is always weaponized against us. None of us like war. None of us want to see people die. None of us want to see, bombs being dropped and planes shot out of the sky and boats sank and people. No one wants to hear any of that. No one wants to see any of it. There comes a point where I'll give you a perfect example. Have I been, for example, I have been on Russia's side for all intents and purposes in the war in Ukraine, right? In order for me to be able to keep my emotions at bay, I had to stop watching videos coming out of Ukraine of Russian service members getting killed, of Ukrainian guys lying dead in ditches, of the pro-Russian Ukrainian civilians getting duct taped to trees and in the Donbass or in the fighting zones, and beaten. I had to stop watching this stuff. I had to stop watching stuff from Gaza about the babies being blown apart and everything else. Not because because I had to protect my heart so that my humanity could not be weaponized against me to rob me of my ability to do the best the best version of dispassionate analytic thinking I can under such circumstances. I'm not immune to it, folks.
Mm.
You know, I'm a highly volatile individual. You know, I have to master my emotions. I say it all the time. There's a reason why I don't trade markets. I can't keep my emotions out of the markets. My emotions run very high here. I have very strong feelings about all of this stuff. No one wants to see any of this. But if you want me to give you the best version of my analysis, I have to cut myself off from certain things so that my basic humanity isn't weaponized. Is that going to then invite commentary that Tom's a warmonger and he's a this and he's like all of these things? Of course it is. It's what are you going to do? I either have or I have not earned your trust as an analyst over the years. There's nothing I can do about that.
Mm-hmm.
So now that all that being said, I look at what I know, and I know Joaquin very well, and I know Alex, or at least I think I know Joaquin well. I know Alex pretty well. I've spent many days, hanging out in person with Alex Craner. He's a wonderful human being.
He is,
and
he's experienced war as well,
and he's experienced war, and he's probably a better person than I am, to be honest. Okay. I don't, and that's not hard for me to say. Most people I've met in my life are better people than me. Okay. I'm not, no lie here, dude. I'm like cards on the friggin' table. I used to joke about, I used to make a joke of it. On the best days, I'm not fit for human consumption. I mean that. Like, I don't know, I'm deeply flawed human being, right? Again, I can see the comments happening right now. Yeah, you take money from Israel, you fuck. You work for Newsmax, you fuck. Whatever. Piss off. I don't give a shit. So my point here is that it's our job to do the exact same type of tea leaf reading analysis that we do before the war started, while the war's going on. And the reality is that in my mind, if you look at the way Alex and Harley and some others and Joaquin also, their framework was that Trump was running another theater operation and wasn't actually going to bomb Iran. That was their position before the war. What was my position before the war? Oh no, Trump's going to wipe out the IRGC. Yeah. My position before the war was that this was going to go. I didn't know what he was going to do, but I knew that in his mind, this is a war to destroy the IRGC. And I also do not subscribe to any of the religious eschatology that has been locked onto this thing. Neither Jewish, nor Muslim, nor Christian, none of it. I don't buy any of it. Okay. And this is important differentiation here because it's a layer in all of our analysis that's not being discussed openly right now, but it's the 800-pound gorilla in the room. I'm seeing it from friends of mine who are talking and they're yelling at me going, dude, you need to be looking at the eschatology here. I'm like, no, I don't. That to me is agitprop. That to me is a distraction. This is about system. This is about flow. This is about money. This is about all of those things that I wrote about last month in the Gold Ghosts and Guns newsletter. This is all about the stuff that I talked with Ian Burlingame and Blaine Holt and Susan Kokinda about. This is about the control of the pricing of assets and the ability to maintain the ability to blackmail the world with violence and chaos, subsidized through the cash flows of institutions like Lloyd's of London. And the more we bring in the insurance angle on this, and I don't just mean shipping insurance, but insurance in general, as the thing that is used and clearing and the futures markets and all that stuff, all of it. Every bit of it, the reinsurance markets, CDOs, the credit default swaps, all of this stuff. If you look, every time there's going to be a quote unquote financial crisis, somebody's created some kind of synthetic insurance product that's used as the tail that wags the dog that blows up the markets. It's every single time. And so I'm over it, folks. I can see the code. To me, That's what the matrix is. That's what I'm reading on a regular basis. I'm like, I don't, I look up anymore. I don't even see the code. I just see steak. It's, like it's at that moment in the matrix, like Cypher sitting there while he's eating the steak that he knows isn't real. He's like, yeah, I don't even see the code anymore. Like, I just see these, and that's the way the world operates. That's the way, and because I see the world that way, maybe it's a blind spot. Okay, I'm willing to admit it could be a blind spot, but when I get the kinds of corroborative evidence, and I was watching, so give you an idea what I mean by that. When I woke up this morning, I didn't immediately go and check my Twitter feed for the latest, or and Slack and all my normal haunts to find out what the latest flow of headlines were. First thing I did this morning was I looked at the intermarket. I went directly to the capital markets.
Okay.
I went to the capital markets because the capital markets are going to tell me after 5 days, after 7 days of this shit, right? Now you go to the capital markets. What did I see this morning? And these are all inferences from things that I saw earlier in the week when I'm doing the market report for the patrons, when I'm doing my weekly pod version of the same thing for Newsmax on Tuesday, the Sunday market report. So I go Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Now we get to Friday. So I had this like routine in my regular routine that leaves me in a state. So Friday is the day to look at how way we're opening Friday, because I know sometime Friday afternoon, someone is going to try and move the markets. They're going to try and set up the narrative for the weekend, right? That's the way the news cycle works, because markets are closed, and then you can massage everything. And then you can set everything up for the Sunday opening in Sydney, and then the Monday morning market open in New York and London, and blah, 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 blah. And again, 25 years of watching freaking markets, you get into the rhythm. And it's a rhythm. It's like playing jazz with people, it's like, it is. So I woke up this morning, I looked at the capital markets. And what did I look at? As a matter of fact, I actually didn't even look at it first. Somebody noted it to me. Oh, by the way, the UK-US 10-year bond spread was blowing out. It was nearly 50 basis points. I'm like, well, that's interesting, because this time last Friday it was 25.
Okay.
So now I'm going to explain this in a sec. I know where you're going. I'm going to explain it. What I mean by this is that the UK gilt, because it's trading at a premium to US Treasuries, meaning that last week it was trading 25 basis points higher, a quarter of percent higher than US debt. So if US debt was trading at 4%, the gilt was trading the similar maturity gilt 10-year trading at 4.25. Today, 4.15 on the US 10-year, 4.68 now on the UK gilt. So what you're watching is the bond spread widen. People are selling UK gilts preferentially over selling American gilts. Bond spreads will tell you so much. Currency rates will tell you more than 90% of the shit that you will see on Twitter.
Right.
Because most of the people you see on Twitter are working for somebody or a bot, or reinforcing, they're trying to shore up their failing business model, or this or this or this or that. Dude, I have a big Twitter feed. I use it as my primary. It's almost my primary source of open source intelligence at this point, is to watch the matrix in real time. I literally had that conversation yesterday with Dexter White about that. He's like about our different Twitter strategies. He has a different Twitter strategy than I do, right? But I actually was able to convince him I have a Twitter strategy, as opposed to him just usually telling me I'm a retard, which is hilarious. By the way,
a rude retard, Tom.
Very rude,
a rude
very
retard,
rude.
very impolite. Now, so the bond spreads for the gilts going much, much higher, and the spread increasing, means that people are worried about the British economy. They're not going to get paid back.
Who is in trouble? London. The people who have money are betting against the UK here, even though Lloyd's of London has canceled all of these risky shipping insurance contracts to protect themselves. If Trump was losing this war, the bond spread would actually be tightening. We would see the US 10-year versus the gilt versus the German Bund versus the JGB versus some other relative safe haven asset, the Swiss 10-year, pick any other quote unquote safe haven asset. You would watch those spreads, you would watch them move disadvantageously for the US 10-year. Okay. You would see it that way. None of the cross-market analysis that I do on a regular basis tells me that. What I'm seeing is very, and then on top of that, the other thing I checked this morning was, I'm like, I'm watching. It's okay. So gold's moving, oil's up. Okay. Let's go check the SOFR futures market. So I checked the SOFR futures market, and what do I see?
SOFR, not silver.
SOFR, SOFR. The reason why, because there was a bad jobs report this morning in the United States. So that's not good for Trump, right? Bad jobs report, employment's not improving. Now, that should tell you that the SOFR market should now be should be moving such that it's now betting that the Fed's going to cut interest rates, not raise interest rates, right? Labor market's not good. Fed should be cutting rates, right? Nope, sorry. Across the board, the whole SOFR strip from December, from like September 2026 out to 2028. Nope, all up 7 to 10 basis points on massive volume, the kind of volume that we saw during the tariff tantrum last April. Guess who was behind that? London and Mark fucking Carney over at the Bank of Canada. They're attacked the SOFR strip again this time, and we're also watching preferential selling in the 30-year versus the 10-year space on the U.S. Treasury market. That's central bank selling, okay? Because fund managers, risk managers, they're in the short-term market, right? You're going to see 3-month money blow out if there's a demand for it. You're going to see the 2-year. Right, you're gonna see money moving around in that space. When you see the 10 and the 30 moving hard, that's probably a central bank selling, because they're the ones who are buying most of the duration at this point, because that's where the best yields are. Okay, and again, I look at the TIC report, the Treasury International Capital report, every week, every month, and I update it. And that particular slice of that report that I look at is all about long-dated central bank U.S. Treasury reserves. That means everything from 5 years out. It's none of the short-term stuff. It's all the longer-term stuff. So this is their duration holdings. These are the bets, the directional bets they've made on U.S. duration in the bond markets. This is important. I know it's all geeky and technical, but this is what I'm looking at to corroborate what I'm seeing in the headline space. And everything I'm seeing is panic and selling in the European markets and the British markets. Again, I'll give you another example. Another corroborating thing. This week, stock markets. The U.S. markets have held up better than everybody else. Now, some of them have sold off harder because they were bid harder, like the Nikkei and emerging markets. But the European markets, nope, sorry, they were getting killed. And they're all in breakout territory, meaning, well, the Euro Stoxx 50, the DAX, they're in breakout territory. They're trading above last year's highs. The Dow hit 51 and then collapsed back into the 48 range and hasn't moved back above 50 since that 1 week it popped above 50. It's been below 50 ever since. It takes a hell of a lot more money to move the Dow 500 points than it takes to move the German DAX 1,000 points.
Right.
Okay. Or 2,000 points. Why? It's a fundamentally smaller market. Like the U.S. equity markets are bigger than everybody else's equity markets by an order of magnitude. Martin Armstrong. Same thing with the U.S. debt markets. When the U.S. debt markets move the way they do, and you're seeing other selling in other places, this is bad for them, not us. And if Trump was losing control of the situation, if this situation was deteriorating financially for the United States, and it wasn't just window dressing by a bunch of fucking propagandists who know how to move markets and write headlines and install bot farms and deploy bot farms and everything else, then we would not be seeing what we're seeing in the capital markets today. Yes, some of that is money going to ground, but money can go to ground in different places in different ways. We can have more money flow into the German bond market if this was good for Germany. It's not good for Germany. Okay. And the key to understanding how bad it actually is what I always do. I do this on every Wednesday and every Sunday. For everybody listening to my voice right now, you get a front row seat to this shit every Wednesday and every Sunday for $4 a goddamn month. Okay. And I explain all of this, and I'm going to explain it to you again. Watch the French-German 10-year spread. What you'll see, Christine Lagarde is still running yield curve control with the German Bund to keep it from rising. The United States can afford to watch the US 10-year go from 4.15 to 4.5%. We won't blink here in the United States. We won't give a good goddamn at all. But I got news for you. If concomitantly, in order to maintain the spread, the German Bund has to move that same 35 basis points. That moves the German Bund to 3.1%. And Christine Lagarde has been holding this 2.5 to 2.75 area for 4 years.
That makes no sense. I mean, it makes no economic sense given the state of Europe.
Exactly. So when you see markets, when you see people negotiating against their best interest, like we saw with the Iranians relative to America, you have to ask the question. This is something Blaine Holt said to me yesterday when we were chatting on a podcast. He said, when you see people negotiating against their best interest, you have to realize that they're not in control of the negotiations. Someone else has got a gun to their head. Zelensky has multiple guns to his head in Ukraine.
Yep.
The mullahs. If you want, I'm going to give Alex and company and everybody some props and some love here. Ready? I'm going to help them make sense of how this works. I'm going to give you the most generous read I can of former Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Are you ready? Here's how it works. I've said many times, I can believe at the same time that the Shia clerics have issued a fatwa against nuclear weapons. I can also believe that Iran, or some part of the Iranian Republic, the Islamic Republic of Iran, one of those verticals, one of those departments, was pursuing a nuclear weapon. I can believe that at the same time. You know why? Iran's not a monolith.
Yeah.
Makes perfect sense to me.
Tom, my own family's not a monolith.
Right, exactly. Neither is mine. Oh my God, I don't even talk to my family. Oh, by the way.
Some of my family was so silly they went and had that novel medical intervention. Silly monkeys.
I know. Oh, God. Okay. I mean, you know,
so
the comedy's not good, but it's free. So here's my generous read, right? And I've said this before. What if Khamenei and his faction within the Iranian government can't negotiate freely? What if they have a gun to their head?
Right.
What if their families are same thing with Maduro. Look at Maduro. Maduro negotiated with Trump. Well, Trump is like putting the aircraft carriers in there. Like, you will do what I ask you to do. And eventually he took the deal when Trump could finally guarantee his safety and his family's safety. And then he's like doing the thumbs up thing while they parade him around Manhattan in the back of the paddy wagon. Remember that? Yeah, remember that? Okay.
Yep.
Now, fast forward to Iran. They walk in. Witkoff tells us on Monday, we have 60 pounds of uranium. We can make 11 nuclear weapons.
Okay, but Witkoff
that was their opening gambit.
But Witkoff
now, Steve Witkoff. No, he's lying. Not lying because he just negotiated how many deals with how many people proving his trustworthiness as a negotiator. The Board of Peace exists because of Steve Witkoff. 60 countries showed up at the Board of Peace. He gets your benefit of your doubt.
Okay.
He does. You have to give it to him. You have all of this data. It's a preponderance of data. that the United States was trying to negotiate in good faith. But when you see the Iranians do the same thing that Zelensky's been doing, well, we'll negotiate, but these red lines, well, no, those red lines are unacceptable. And maybe the Iranian negotiators, as Joaquin has pointed out on his Telegram channel and in the interviews he's done, that they did agree to these things, but they couldn't actually agree. They could agree with them privately, but they couldn't agree to them publicly. They couldn't sign on the dotted line. What matters is you sign on the dotted line. What matters is that you actually show up to the table and do the thing. If you can't put pen to paper, it means nothing. This is international relations, folks. This is the way this works. Sorry. Now,
okay.
No. So now let's do the generous read.
Mm-hmm.
The IRGC that was pursuing a nuclear weapon, the faction that I long suspect has been in the pay of the City of London to create chaos around the world and do their bidding, kept telling them, nope, we're going to war with we have a plan to take out Donald Trump. We're going to do this. It's going to work. And you're going to negotiate like this. And if you don't, so Khamenei had nowhere to go. He didn't have the option like Bashar al-Assad of taking the apartment in Moscow. All he had to do was like shave his beard and get the next door apartment in Moscow next to Bashar al-Assad. That wasn't on the table for him because multiple guns pointed at him, his family, and everybody else. That's as generous a read on Khamenei as I can come up with. And now you ask the question, why did the Americans kill him?
Yeah.
Now I get to the point where I say to you all, maybe they didn't.
Oh,
maybe.
Tom.
Maybe the IRGC. Maybe the IRGC killed him, or the Israelis killed him in order to force Trump to take it. That's what I'm getting at. It's not that he's not dead. It's that they killed him anyway because that would be the thing that would be in their best interest and inflame Shias. No different than the false flag that these fuckers pulled off with Hamas and the Israelis on 10/7/2023 to start this entire goddamn spiral to endgame that we're living through right now. You're going to tell me that analysis is 5D chess? No, I'm sorry. I've watched enough British spy novels.
That's human behavior. That's simple human behavior. It creates trouble for others. Because one of the things that was rolling around in my head is, I'm sure you know, my father was a Shia. My mum was Sunni, right?
Yes.
And Shias are, it's all about martyrdom. They don't forget, right? And I've been thinking like, well, what if somebody were to kill the Pope? That would inflame Catholics the world over. Be awful.
This is literally Alex's talking point from the show he and I did with Sean Newman the other day. I'm thinking through all of the conversations that I've had this week, and I'm like, oh my God. And I did a show this morning where I had that idea like pop into my head while I was going through all of the bits and pieces. I'm like, oh, right. So what's the thing you do? You kill Khamenei. And you do it in such a way that Trump has to eat it. So I can believe that the wing of the Israelis, this is what Alex was worried about. That's literally what Alex said to me the other day on Sean Newman's podcast. And we were on with Susan Gokinda. We were on Sean Newman. You can look it up, folks. Alex laid this out. What if, Tom? This is why this is so dangerous. This is why he was against this. Like, the tail risk is that somebody betrays Trump and kills Khamenei and starts this thing spiraling towards a different kind of endgame that he can't control. Oh, I'm not going to. And I told Alex flat out, I'm like, that is a really, really good read. I don't know if I said that exactly, but that's what was going through my head. That's a real risk. It is. But sometimes you have to take these risks in order to get something else, because the other benefits are you got other benefits. Now, what you have at that point is then you ask yourself, does Trump still have allies in the region? And he does. The Gulf Cooperation Council denounced Iran. I saw this morning, Dexter White sent me a text this morning of a tweet where an Israeli fighter plane or spy plane forgot to turn off their transponder as they flew across Saudi Arabia. This was they didn't forget. After Saudi Arabia said, no, you can't use our airspace for military operations, and they promised Iran they wouldn't do that. That was MBS lying, while the Israelis were, and then the Israelis then turn around and leave their transponder on to let everybody know, oh, by the way, MBS was lying, and it's okay. People lie strategically in war. It's part of the process. And we have to realize that facts, again, I'm going to invoke the Dexter White, facts matter. What you do with those facts, how you interpret those facts, what collage you build with those facts, that's interpretation. That's what we're here for. And we're not here to say definitively X, Y, or Z. What we're doing as best as we can with the information that we have, put these pieces together. So I've looked at this situation from a variety of different angles. I was literally asked by a friend of mine last night, how do you error check yourself that you're not living in an echo chamber? Well, I use the capital markets, dude. And you know I do. So why are you asking me this question?
Yeah.
So
follow the money. Okay. So then Israeli airspace opens up on Sunday, which means that there ain't going to be missiles flying in. The Israelis are confident there ain't going to be missiles flying in from Iran.
That is my interpretation of that statement. Yes.
So then, is it because Iran's run out of missiles, or their launchers have been destroyed, or they've negotiated something?
All of the above are possible. There are also all of those things can be true simultaneously, consecutively, and concurrently.
Okay. So then, what does that say about the rest of the conflict? What's happening with Iran?
Okay, so now Iran is now in a position where there's a possibility of Iran breaking down along regional lines. I want to note a couple other things. The other day, I said, watch Turkey, watch Aliyev, and watch Erdogan. I said it on Twitter.
Yep.
I said, watch Aliyev in Azerbaijan, watch Erdogan in Turkey.
I think we talked about it in our show last week.
Yeah, we did.
About the Turks.
Okay. Now, I don't want to go to Turkey just yet because Turkey's the final boss. Okay. And that's going to be that's an actually bigger operation than even Iran is. Okay. But let's start talking about the Kurds on the northern border in Iraq. And let's talk about the Azeris. My read on what I'm seeing coming out of Aliyev in Azerbaijan. Now, remember, you would map Aliyev and Azerbaijan to City of London. And especially since they installed their boy, Nikol Pashinyan in Armenia. It's been a big problem. He's been giving away everything, gave all of Nagorno-Karabakh basically to Aliyev and Azerbaijan. The Russians want the international north-south transport corridor, and they want the Trans-Caspian route, part of that route. It goes from Azerbaijan to the port of Chabahar on the southern coast of Iran in the Indian Ocean. They want that deconflicted so that their goods and their oil and their gas and their everything else can travel without having to deal with the Bosphorus and Dardanelles and that mercurial figure, Mr. Recep Tayyip Erdogan. Correct? Okay. Now, what has Aliyev done?
Mass troops?
Yeah, mass troops on the border. Iran. IRGC. If you think that now the IRGC has got command and control, gone. Command and control's over in the IRGC, right? So now, here's the big one. What happens to an army under those circumstances? It splinters into groups. We get a battalion or a division commander over here is going to take over and is going to be a warlord in this area, or he's going to do this thing, or he's going to team up with this guy, and they're going to lash out and they're going to suppress the population. They're going to do everything they can to stay in power. There's no central power coming from Tehran, right? That's my tail risk. So Aliyev in Azerbaijan is looking at the game board. Remember, it used to be a City of London asset, but hey, all of a sudden, he's looking around. City of London's not helping anybody. Their pet IRGC guys, they're getting crushed by the Americans and the Israelis. And he's going to cut a deal. And he is cutting a deal. You will go no further. You will not cause any more chaos. You will stay bottled up inside your borders. I think Aliyev has made his choice. I think Trump got to him when he brought him over to end the war between the Armenia and Azerbaijan. Remember when Pashinyan and they went there? They went to the White House last year. I think Aliyev got told then she was in the works. Now that I backfill it, I think it through. It also says to me that Putin is going to take care of the thorn in his side, who is Pashinyan. And Pashinyan is a George Soros creation. That means he's City of London. And that guy has stayed in power the same way that guys like Macron and the tracksuit midget and all these people have stayed in power.
Okay.
Against the people's will by using,
machinations, electioneering, twists.
The general word is fuckery, but
Okay, so when I heard about the Azeri army moving to the border, my thought was, they're going to invade. They're going to start attacking, be the proxy ground force. But you're saying they're going to be on the border to prevent the IRGC spilling over.
I have a really interesting one for you. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It could be both. They could move across the border in order to suppress the IRGC's ability to do that. I don't know. I'm telling you that Aliyev is making a move. And he realizes, and I think he realizes where his bread is buttered at this point. It's not buttered in London. That's what I think. Yeah. I think that Trump has got this situation mostly under control. I'm not saying there aren't tail risks. I'm not saying we're not going to light our hair on fire or get our hair mussed or any of that stuff. Not saying it's not going to be hard. Not saying people aren't going to die. Not saying any of that. Not saying that the war, for all intents and purposes, is over. We're in mop-up phase. I have now heard this from multiple people who are military, and they're all saying, "Oh my God, we got this. This is insane what we got done." And I keep hearing that over and over again. And from people who don't have any reason to believe, the reason to believe they'll lie to me. Why would they lie? They're not on. They're like, holy Christ.
So who's going to be in charge of Iran then? Because I saw Trump said it's not going to be Reza Pahlavi.
No, it's not going to be Reza Pahlavi. And I told Alex that on Tuesday when we recorded with John Newman. I said, don't you worry about Reza Pahlavi. That's what they're floating. It's not happening. Yeah. That's your tell that Trump is going after the City of London. That is your tell, your biggest tell.
Tom, there's been quite a few tells. John Bolton objecting to deepening conflict.
Many tells, but I'll go with that. I'll go with that one in case anybody is like really thinking 3 steps ahead, right? Which is again what a guy like Alex is supposed to do, and what he does naturally, and what he does brilliantly, folks. Yeah. Again, I can't.
Alex is absolutely great. I don't know about Alex. Maybe it's been like what's happened with me and many people, and it goes back to what you said earlier on about our humanity being attacked, because it's upsetting all these innocent people, all the innocent people being killed like this.
Yes. Now, but here's the thing. I'm not going to tell you that there's not civilian casualties here, but notice how even the Iranian propaganda isn't really able to put out much other than the cheapest, like recycling the same agitprop. I'm like, dude, when the bot farms are saying the same thing about the church that got bombed like 5 days ago, it means that we've got really good precision bombing, and we're hitting military targets.
But I've heard commentators saying, Tehran's being flattened, and then you yourself said about them flying B-52 bombers, which aren't precision.
Well, they aren't precision, but they can use both like glide bomb JDAMs and whatnot. And they also are putting precision munitions on them as well. They can carry a host of ordnance, the B-52s.
Okay.
And I don't want to say anything more than that, because that would be me putting myself out over my skis about American military hardware.
Sure.
Okay. I know people who know this stuff far better than me. And all I can tell you is that everything I've heard from them tells me that we're using the right tools for the right job at the right time. That's what I've heard.
Okay.
You can choose to disbelieve, folks. You can choose to salt it to taste. I got a big salt shaker right here. I'll even grind it for you.
All right, Tom, if as you say, the war is now over, that's another real fucking head twister by Trump.
Yes, it is. It's
like
immense.
He did with Venezuela. I had no idea anything that. Like Muhammad Ali and George Foreman, rope-a-dope. What?
Hold on.
You won the fight like that?
Ready? On CNBC, Trump administration announces $20 billion reinsurance program for oil tankers. Just so you know. So he's already run. So they knew what they were doing, and they put this out before. This has not been talked about very much, but I saw, like, I don't know, there's Sean Duffy or one of the guys, I think the guy who runs DFC, the Defense Finance Corporation, and tweeted it out the other day. Oh, by the way, we've been working on this plan for months about the insurance, shipping insurance and reinsurance. This is not Trump reacting in real time like a lot of people would like you to believe. No, the Trump administration is not a bunch of freaking retards. They're not stupid. They thought this through. You're not the smartest guy in the room. I'm not the smartest guy in the room. Nobody is. But, they put a war plan together, and they're executing that war plan bit by bit by bit by bit by bit. And at all points, and again, I think I was on with somebody else yesterday, and I said, I'm a math guy. I can't help myself. I'm going to do it now. What is a vector dot product? A vector dot product is when you take all the vectors that you've got under analysis, and then you do the dot product of all of them, and you get the resultant vector of when you have two vectors. I got two things moving in, and like this. This is a vector. This is a vector. The vector dot product tells you that's when you take these two, and that's the resultant vector. Now, do that with 30 pieces of information, and they all point to City of London.
Yes.
Every one of them, not to Israel. In fact, what I would argue is that Israel benefits from this. No argument. You can be as upset about that as you want to be. I'm not crazy about it. I have almost no opinion on it, to be honest with you, because I understand at the end of the day that Iran, as long as the Iranian crazies and the Israeli crazies and the American crazies and the British crazies, they're all kind of, the crazy Shias that are, want the eschatological outcome, and the crazy Zionists who want the eschatological, and the dispensationalists, and all those. I want them all completely and utterly
neutered.
Not neutered. I'm looking for the word. It's oh God, I'm sorry.
Pacified. Calm down. Placated.
No. Disavowed, or what's the word? I can't believe I can't find this word.
People should put in the comments, what is Tom's word? What's the word that he's looking for?
I want them. They no longer have any credibility.
Right. Discredited.
That's what I'm looking for. Discredited. That's the word I was looking for, and I can't believe I had to come around. I can't believe I couldn't find it. Oh my fucking
Everybody,
God.
Please put a word. Please put a comment to discredit Tom's lexicon.
There you go. I know the comments are like Tom's like discrediting himself every time he opens his mouth. It's gonna be great. I by the way, folks, I do read the comments, and they do show up every once in a while as well. FYI. So I like to read the comments. I like to see what people are saying.
Yeah.
I like to see what the counter signaling is. I check the bot farms. I can tell the people who are good and decent, and we see what. No, I do this. It's part of the.
I read the comments to get feedback.
Yeah, I know you do.
Yeah.
So there's that. I want all those people discredited. I want them all shamed. I want them all. I want to see John Bolton tarred and feathered. But or better yet, I want to never see John Bolton's face ever again.
He's probably on some hippie commune now, eating lentils.
His mustache could not handle that. I mean, seriously, guys. This is what I mean.
Okay.
Am I happy that the Jew who cried wolf, Bibi Netanyahu, is going to wind up having been right? That Iran was probably that the IRGC, not Iran, the IRGC or the wing of the IRGC was trying to cobble together a nuclear weapon at the last moment, and they finally had to do something about it. That's my operating thesis at this point. I agree with EM about this. I really do. EM Burlingame has been saying this for the last week or so. The more I think about it, the more I'm like, yeah, no, that makes sense to me. Like, they have fissile material. They were going to smuggle it in. They wanted to set off a dirty bomb. They wanted to start World War III.
Right. Which would, if that was the case, and I'm not saying it isn't, I can get why Trump would be like, we have to stop that, because they're an irresponsible quasi-state actor.
Yeah.
Unlike, say, North Korea or Pakistan, which are state actors, but have so far acted responsibility with regards to their nuclear material.
I agree. So far. Unless, of course, North Korea actually sent over one of their warheads. What I actually think, I mean, again, I've been operating under the principle that Iran outsourced their nuclear weapons program to North Korea. I don't actually think it was Iran that was behind it, the IRGC that was behind it. I think it was City of London the entire time.
Oh, Tom, you're just so anti the City of London. I think you've got a prejudice against the City of London.
I kind of do. I am against all things with the distinct odor of limey. I'm sorry, I can't do it anymore.
Well, not all things. I think the imperial limey.
I don't consider you a limey.
No, but
Rich.
Britons,
you know what I mean?
Generally.
Limey. Again, no, I mean that. Yeah, no. Yeah. When I use the term limey, I'm talking about the worst aspects of
the imperial ruling elite.
Yeah,
so then what's going to happen? You said things are going to get better for Israel. One of my concerns was, and not that I'm not a Zionist, I'm not in favor of Zionism, but I'm in favor of people, and I got no beef with Judaism. My brother's wife is a Jew, right? I love all peoples.
Oh yeah, okay. So you're one of those apologists. So I have a black friend.
I'm not an apologist.
I'm kidding, Rich. I'm fucking with you. There you go. Yeah. Zing. I'm the same way. I've got black friends. What are you talking about?
Oh my god! Oh my god!
My
niece and nephew are Jewish.
One of my favorite. How many times have I screamed about India? One of my favorite new friends that I've made in the last year. Dude is as Indian as they come. He's the most American I've ever met.
Yes.
I mean, if I were to tell you this guy's history, you'd be like, "Oh yeah, like is that guy a redneck?" I'm like, well, yeah, but he's from India originally. Like,
that's right.
And I'm like, he's literally the most American dude imaginable. And I'm like, I would have him as my next door neighbor. Okay. Like, seriously.
I'm not
out here in the middle of Tennessee where I don't want neighbors.
Yes.
That's
I got it. I'm not
anti-Jewish. And by the way, I also know he's listening. And I also know he's listening. So
yes,
I also know he's listening. So
hello, American
dude,
friend.
You're the man. Like, dude is a house on fire. Dude, he's so high strung. I have to calm down to balance the equation. It's hilarious.
Back to Israel.
He's awesome.
One of my concerns was the damage it's going to do to Judaism, to Jewry, and I also thought that Israel is going to fare really badly out of this. Israel's going to get damaged.
Well, that's the thing is that again, the British are throwing the Jews under the bus. Your talk with EM that you did the other day, for everybody that is your talk with EM, I listen to it. I don't listen to very much because I don't usually have time. I'm very busy, and I try to listen to who I can, and I have private conversations with and try and keep up with as many people as possible. Your conversation that you had with EM the other day was really important. Okay, I'm going to state that again. That conversation with EM was very, very important. There are aspects of it that are going to make everybody who watches it uncomfortable. It made me uncomfortable.
I know. I can tell. I know you with that like massive freaking heart. That post Grinch moment where he almost dies, and he starts off by saying, "Punch the bitch in the mouth."
I know.
I deal with domestic abuse all the time.
I know.
He's using it as a metaphor.
It's a metaphor. It is a metaphor. And and he's not particularly good I know he's blunt and he's hilarious, and and I do believe that he has the best interest of humanity at heart. That being said, get past the presentation, get to the substance of the matter. The same thing with me. The presentation is like whatever it is, dude. I do my best to try and be respectable, and then and then and then the perverse takes over on my shoulder, and boom, shit comes out of my mouth that I shouldn't say. But the that's between me, my therapist, and if there's an almighty. Okay, there's nothing to do about it. That whole flawed man thing. It's the same thing here, but listen to that conversation carefully. You'll understand it. It'll help inform a lot of the stuff that I just talked about. It really, really will. And because it's not that I agree with him about everything, because I don't. There are many things I don't agree with him about. But that being said, about this angle on the whole thing, he said the other day, like, the British will happily throw the Jews under the bus. They've thrown the Jews under the bus how many times? In order to get their plans to fruition. And they've thrown Russians under the bus, and they've thrown Turks under the bus, and they've thrown Australians under the bus, and they've thrown Canadians under the bus, and they've thrown Americans under the bus.
They'll throw anybody. They killed 20 million Indians. And then I heard how Balfour, who signed the Balfour Declaration, couldn't stand Jews. Okay, so what will happen to Israel? You said Israel is going to do better out of this.
What I mean is that Israel is going to come out of this with a stable arrangement around them, because they're going to have to start acting like a normal country. Our mutual friend Halsey English believes that that's the plan. That's what they want, right? It's like Iran wants to be a normal country. They don't want to be held hostage by these crazy Zionists Shia apocalyptic, the apocalyptic crowd on both sides, right? Yep. Zionism is an apocalyptic thing. Shia, the death version of Shia Muslim is also a thing. I'm not here to pass judgment on, I'm sure there are millions of great Shias in the world. Like, I'm sitting here chatting with, you guys don't even want to hear what I think about Islam as a religion. You don't want to hear, because I don't care. Like, I ain't got nothing good to say about most of the friggin' religions in the world, including Catholicism, which I was raised in. But that being said, I'm not hostile to it. I firmly believe that at this point, that humanity itself is not evil in the way that we've been gaslit into believing. I really do get up every day and think, wow, people really do go out of their way to find the good in anything in order to avoid the worst of the worst of humanity's impulses. And it's very evil, disgusting people that inflame those worst aspects, those flaws in our own psyche and our own trauma and our own history and our own this. And this is, again, goes back to what you do in your day job, because you see the effects at the family level. It propagates at the geopolitical level. My faith in humanity is, at this point, is strong enough in general. That includes all the horrible shit we do to each other, that we eventually learn our lessons and we move on. Yes, we repeat those same problems. We repeat those lessons over and over again, but we make different mistakes. It's, again, what I'm going to say now, kind of in closing, is that, look, when my daughter was born, my wife was talking with her mom about the things that she was going to do differently than the way my wife was raised. And my mother-in-law, who is a very deeply unhappy person, and just and psychologically one of the most miserable people I've ever met. And I say that wishing that it wasn't that way. We wish that she would not be this way, because she could be a lovely person. She turned to my wife and she said, "Oh, so I was a terrible mother. I made all these mistakes." And my wife, in the height of her political career, said, "No, Mom, I endeavor to make different mistakes." Now, history, I disagree with Sting. History does teach us something. Like this, history will teach us nothing. The song from Nothing Like the Sun. Good song. Don't agree. History does teach us things. we make different mistakes. We make similar mistakes with each cycle, but we make different mistakes because we do learn. And we did in the stories we're going to tell about this period in history, just like the stories we told ourselves about World War II and the stories we told ourselves about World War I, the Civil War, this, that, and everything else, are what humanity does to encode those mistakes so that we can teach the next generations not to make the same mistakes. You're going to make different mistakes, but hopefully they will be of lesser catastrophe. They will be of a lesser catastrophic nature. And they will be different. Hopefully they will be less catastrophic. If we didn't do that, if humanity didn't tell ourselves stories, our entire lives are built around stories. We developed language in order to try and not repeat the same fucking mistakes over and over and over again. In order to encode our past to teach the future. So that's what we're doing now. And if you want my honest opinion, Rich, this is why I love you. Because you give me an opportunity to help encode and chronicle the mistakes that we're making now so we don't make them in the future. And, I go on my rants, I do my thing, I'm all this stuff. At the end of the day, I'm very philosophical about all this.
You are.
This all comes from a very, very deep-seated desire to not make the same mistakes. And, unfortunately, we get to this part of the show at the end after everybody's already pissed off. I should lead with this more often,
No, then they may leave and they won't listen to the rest of it.
They won't listen to what I have to say because they're here for the analysis, but what they're going to get is hopefully the sermon.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
No,
so,
Tom.
And I hope that they listen to this. I hope you listen to the sermon with an open mind. That's all I can do.
Yeah, that's what we got to do. We got to keep learning from each other, and actually, to be able to learn from another means not only do I have to open my mind, but I have to open my heart, even just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
And that's
that's
what the world needs. We need to open our hearts to others.
And that's why some very good people are making going back to what I said earlier about our humanity being weaponized against us. Sometimes good people they look and they see this and they're like, oh my God, this is going to be terrible. And they project out one and they do a vector cross product and they forgot to add these vectors over here and they got the wrong cross product as opposed to that one. And that's fair. It's okay. It happens. I'm not saying I have the right vector cross product. I'm saying, or dot product. Sorry, not cross product, dot product. What I'm saying is we have to be willing to constantly reassess as we get new data. And so far, since Tuesday, or every day that this war goes on, I'm seeing enough data points that all we're doing is it's right there. It's right in front of us. And is it me only looking at the data I want to look at? That's maybe possible. I'm not going to argue. Not going to lie. I got enough people around me who are telling me that
we're human. We all have confirmation bias.
Of course. But here's the problem. Here's the interesting thing about it. More people are telling me that I'm wrong than they're telling me that I'm right. In my circle, I have never been the 12-day war was worse. 12-day war was worse. Everybody thought I was wrong. I lost patrons because of the 12-day war, because of everybody crashing out, because at that point, Nick Fuentes was, the Groypers were running roughshod and it was hard. And I was under a lot of stress the months of June, July, August last year, because it was clearly a concerted, first time I ever really felt what it looked like when the empire struck back at me personally to try and destroy my business and destroy my life. Yep. Since we started Gold, Ghosts, and Guns. You know what?
Tom.
You know what? We survived it.
We survived it. We survived it. And something else I'd say, why you and I do this and why people are watching and learning from us and others within our circle and others that do this, right, is because what we want is a better world. We don't want our kids eating bugs and owning nothing and living in 15-minute cities. And that project is being destroyed.
Yep. I do not want to live in a world where suicide pods are a bull market.
No.
Remember, okay. I said that a year and a half ago about Canada. Like that's what their world for us is, that they want to make suicide pods into a bull market.
Oh, don't. I don't know if you know, but the assisted dying bill in Britain has died.
Thank God.
The assisted murder. Thank God. It's not going to happen here.
I'm not even like thank the gods, thank this timeline, whatever you want to call it, thank the universe. Insert whatever you need. As far as I'm concerned, I wish that we can fix Canada as well, because what they're doing in Canada is
evil.
It's evil. It's just, thank you. It's evil.
Yep.
I would say that is a genocide.
Yeah. One that the mainstream media isn't crowing about. Okay, Tom, thank you so much. Now, for everybody who's watching, I've got a particular request of you. As you're watching this, if you want to go back, if there's a particular bit that you really, really enjoyed and you think would be really, really useful for people to know, give us a timestamp in your comments. Comment, like, subscribe, do all that business. Follow Tom. You've got to listen to his market reports. Oh my God, he's so bad. He's really, really bad. All right.
I put on this is Tom good face
turning up for Sunday lunch. This is Rich and Tom signing out. All the best. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.